I'm Dermot Hussey. Welcome to the YouTube channel for the podcast Riffin Radio. Steve Turre is one of the leading trombonists in jazz with a unique aspect of his career, that of playing seashells. He's also a longtime member of the Saturday Night Live band and has recorded as a leader and as well with several leading jazz and Latin stars. I spoke to him about working with Ray Charles. Steve, good to see you, my friend.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
How did you connect with Ray Charles?
I was living in San Francisco and freelancing. You know, I was doing local jazz gigs and local Latin music gigs with the Escovedo brothers. That's the father of Sheila E.
Mm-hmm.
And I would work with Roland Kirk when he would come through town. And then I heard that there was an opening in Ray Charles' band. So you had to go to LA to audition. And so I went down there and tried out. And he liked the way I played, but he said, actually, we need a fourth trombone, a bass trombone, because the first three guys already hired. We do need a trombone, and I like the way you play. Do you play bass trombone? I said, yeah. So I had a horn with a trigger, the F trigger, so you could hit the low notes. And so it didn't have any low B natural. So for that, you need a double trigger. And I didn't have that horn, but I had it. So I played the book with a single trigger horn. And I was there a year, and it was amazing.
What was it like? You did tours around the US or was it international?
Well, at first it was in the United States. You see, Ray had his own recording studio that he rehearsed in, his own record company, his own management agency, his own booking agency, his own airplane, his own tour bus. He owned his own masters. He was not just a genius musically, but business-wise. He was way ahead of everybody else, way ahead. And we rehearsed at his studio, and then he had his own plane, and for a big band with the crew and all the bandstands and the uniforms. Everybody in the band got fitted for 3 suits: a black one, a brown one, and a dark blue one with very light pinstripes in it. And they give you a clean white shirt, you and a tie, and a certain tie went with each suit. You had to provide black patent leather shoes and black socks, no white socks. And they would tell you before each gig what color suit was going to be, and you had to bring the appropriate tie to go with it. So the band always looked professional, looked sharp. And he would send out on the road, they would send out the suits to get cleaned after each gig. And man, he had it together business-wise. You know, it was something to see as a young man. And because normally in the music business, you know, you got the manager, and a lot of times they're scheming and scamming. And the record own your masters. I mean, he was way on top of all that stuff. He had his own thing going on, and we toured the States, And then we went to Europe, and that was the first time I had been to Europe. And we did Mexico and Canada. And I toured with him. He starts in March and tours through till a week before Christmas. Non-stop.
So how do you feel working with Ray Charles? I mean, you know, in terms of, wow, that you had reached this kind of level.
Oh, well, for me, it was a thrill just to listen to him sing every night. You know, it was a good band. I enjoyed playing with the band. It's a great band. But just to listen to him sing every night, man. Sing all kind of music. Blues, funk, jazz, country and western. You name it. But it was all soul. Everything.
One of the things that's always fascinated me about Ray Charles is how he was able, not having sight and having to interact with a large band, people with different temperaments, attitudes. I mean, how did he handle that?
He was a good disciplinarian. He said, look, I pay you on time every week. You get a cashier's check. You can go to any local bank and cash it. If you want cash, you can send them whatever you want to do. You get your money on time. I expect you to be on time. If you're not there a half hour before the gig, they say they have a half. It means you're there getting ready half hour before gig time. So say the gig is 8 o'clock concert, you gotta be there by 7:30. If you're not, $50. Second time, $100. Third time, bye-bye.
Wow. The other aspect that's so fascinating about him, I don't know if you know about this, is that I think Playboy magazine had an interview where they said that not only did he fly his plane, but that he drove a car at 60 miles an hour. But what he did was he had somebody driving ahead of him, and he just followed that sound. And I said, this guy's nothing ever stopped him.
I don't know, I never experienced or saw that, but it wouldn't surprise me. I do know this, that he had his own airplane. And once they would get up to altitude, 20,000 feet or something, they'd let him hold the wheel. He'd be flying the plane, but the co-pilot was right there too to assist, you know. But he was always the radio man. He'd talk to the tower and all that stuff. He got a kick out of that.
How did working with Ray Charles enhance your career?
Well, first of all, musically, that was an enhancement. Music got to come from here. And everything he did come from here, musically. Come to business, he got ripped off enough time. He knew the ropes, and he didn't budge when it come down to business. If you're on his band, okay, music is one thing, but the professionalism is another thing. But he taught me about professionalism, being on time, being sharp, playing your part. And when it's time to solo, then you do your thing. But if not, you play your part. And in terms of concept, he was himself totally. You got to be yourself. That's the ultimate goal. And boy, he was one of a kind there, man. I was watching some concert of his last night on YouTube. Still amazing. I was there. It was a video of a concert that I was in. It still gave me a thrill.
On your album, In the Spur of the Moment, you recorded Misty with him. Can you recreate that moment?
Boy, that's my favorite cut on the whole record. We did, 3 or 4 tunes. And we did a couple of tunes, and I said, let's play a ballad. Okay, all right. What you want to play? And he suggested Ain't Misbehaving. I had to sing it to have it come back. He wanted to do Ain't Misbehaving as a ballad. And for some reason, I hadn't played the song that much, and I just wasn't hearing it as a ballad. I said, well, gee, I'm not up on that song. He said, well, what do you want to play? I said, I don't care, just something everybody knows. Just off the top of my head, I said, how about Misty? He said, yeah, okay, cool. So what key you want to do? I said, B flat. So we tried something. And we said, well, how are we going to start it? I said, I know. I said, Ray, you hit this low F, which is the 5 chord. Boom. And then I'll take the pickup. Boom. And you can tell the tempo right there. So he did that, but because the bass and the drummer were in separate booths for recording clarity, if he just started, they couldn't necessarily catch that. So he counted, he said, 4, boom. And so it was so cool, I left it on the record so you could actually hear his voice. Mm. And I did it with the plunger, kind of Ellington style. Mm. And one take. We just did it once. No rehearsal. And after it was over, it had magic, and I knew it. So I said, ain't no point in doing it again. It's just not going to be better. It's just going to be different. He said into that. So that was a keeper, and we moved on. And then I think we did Raised Collard Greens, and that was it.
Well, that's a very special tune because it's a tune that you dedicated to him. What were you trying to say about Ray Charles in Raised Collard Greens? Well,
I just wrote it because to me, everything Ray does is the blues. He lives the blues. All his music got that blues feeling to it. Don't matter what kind of style he's singing, he brings the blues to the music. Mm. And so naturally, I want to record a blues with Ray. And he said he didn't want to sing because he sang all the time. He don't get to play jazz piano much anymore. He'd rather just play the piano. I said, bro, do whatever you want to do, man. I'm honored you be here, man. We have fun. He said, cool. So I wrote this song for him. And I didn't have a name for it. It was just, I wrote a blues for the record date, something that would be groovy on the trombone, nice for the voice of the trombone. And we recorded it. And then when we getting ready to go, he said, what you calling that tune? I said, I don't know. I don't have a name yet. And he has his valet. It's like his bodyguard, a personal assistant. This guy traveled everywhere with him. Vernon was his name. And man, Vernon was like about 6'6". 280 pounds. He looked like he played linebacker with the Cleveland Browns or something. Big, strong man. But he's a sweetheart, unless you ain't right. Vernon said, because we had some special food brought in for the record date, some soul foods. We had fried chicken, collard greens, black-eyed peas, corn, and sweet potato pie. When we took a break, we had this special food that was really tasty. So Ray wanted to take some of the collard greens with him back to the hotel because he said, I don't get this on the road. This is, I like it. And a sweet potato pie too. I said, go ahead and take it, man. He said, well, it's in the pot. I said, man, just take the pot. I get another pot. I didn't care, man. I was so happy he played with me. So Vernon said, Steve, why don't you call that tune Raised Collard Greens? I said, bingo, that's it.
Wow.
That's how that happened.
Was it very hard to do? I mean, someone who is so musically gifted and musically astute, was it hard to direct him? I mean, I saw the video with him learning that tune, and he picked up everything so quickly. It's extraordinary.
We call it quick study.
Mm.
Learn it like that. You know, well, he's a brilliant man. Brilliant, you know. And he hears, you know, he doesn't see. So everything is sound. His world is sound. Roland Kirk was like that too. And he kind of taught me the insight to that world, because when I used to play with Roland Kirk before Ray, I would give Roland a ride from the club back to the hotel. And he'd say, man, come on up to the room. I want to play some records for you. And he had a little portable record player. You know, they used to have them little portable record players. He was bigger than the record player. It over the thing. And he had some LPs in his suitcase. And he would school me about the things that he felt that I needed to know about the music that came before me. Because he told me, you can, as far forward you can go is determined by how far back you can go. You got to have roots. Without strong roots, the tree doesn't grow good. It doesn't bear any fruit. So I go up to Roland Kirk's room and he closed the door. Man, we'd be sitting in there in the dark. He was blind too. And I mean, I couldn't see my hand in front of my face. And he put on records, and he knew by touch, he could tell what the records were. I don't know how he had them marked, but he knew what record, and he could feel the grooves. He touched the grooves and he could tell between what cut it was. And he put on there and said, now listen to this. Listen to what the guy's doing. And you know, I got into his world because I'm listening in the dark. So I wasn't distracted by what I was seeing. And everything is sound. And all of a sudden you start hearing, you can hear the space around you. He says, he took the record off and said, you hear that? I said, what? He said, someone's rummaging through the garbage can in the alley outside. And I listened real careful. And it was faint, but I could hear it. But I didn't normally pay attention to things like that. But once he brought to my attention, all of a sudden I started hearing little things around me, you know. And it was, Ray lived in that world too. So, you know, I could relate. And I taught him the tune, he picked it right up.
What did Ray think of the Shells?
Well, like I say, his world was a world of sound. He wasn't thinking about what it looked like. What did it sound like? And it sounded like making music. So he liked it because it was, you know, it wasn't the normal thing, but it was a new sound, but it worked for him. He didn't care.
If you were ever to have a chance of working with Ray Charles again, what would you choose? What would be your choice?
Really, whatever he wanted to do would be fine with me. You know, I got to take my hat off to him, man. You know, that's my elder and a mentor and a teacher and a hero. And I don't care, just to play some music. It's all going to be good.
Steve, thank you, man. Great memories.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was something, man. I could tell you, the band flying on that airplane there was some crazy stuff. You know, they had rules, and it was because some people, you know, through the years, some musicians don't have good discipline and whatnot. So they had a rule on Ray's own personal airplane: no drinking on the airplane, because I guess guys would get wrong, you know. So what they do is they get a can of Coke and drink half of it and then pour rum in the other half. So they have rum and Coke, but it just looked like you drink a Coca-Cola. And then And then there was this one guy, he played trombone, he sat next to me. His name was Glenn Childress, but we called him Champ. His name was Champ. And he was a good guy, man. He looked out for me. He wasn't a bebopper. He was a blues man. He could play the blues, man, like just the greasy blues. But, you know, he didn't play all that Charlie Parker stuff. That wasn't his thing. But, you know, he was an alcoholic. And we say, Champ, and Ray had his own airplane. We get on the plane after the gig, and who knows where the next gig be, anywhere in the United States. So say, Champ, how much is it from New York to Chicago? And he say, that's a half pint. Because he'd be drinking, half pint. Say, whiskey. Say, Champ, how much is it from New York to Los Angeles? Port, man. Drank that much. But he looked out for me. But at one point, one of the Raelettes was flirting with me, you know, and we'd be smiling at each other and flirting. And Champ, he noticed this and he said, Steve, you say, leave that lady alone. Don't mess with that. I said, why is that? He said, man, them Raelettes, that's Ray's business. So you keep with me. If you mess with that, he's going to find out about it. And then he's going to fire you. You want to play the music or you want to mess with that lady? I said, well, I want to play the music. So this was nice and had a nice conversation, and that was it. I didn't mess with it. And sure enough, a little while later, they got a new guitar player on the band. And he got into a little thing with the lady. I guess people get lonesome on the road, you know, whatever. And sure enough, Ray heard about it. And sure enough, he fired him after a couple of weeks. But he messed with him before he fired with him. It was like a family, in a sense. And we had some good times. They had a comedian, too, that would travel with us. And one time, we were backstage and getting ready to go on, and the comedian go on first. And then the band do a warm-up. And then Ray come on. And then halfway through the show, the Raelettes come on. So the show keep building up, you know. Mm-hmm. And so we getting ready to go on, and Aaron, the comedian, he's sitting back there, and he's a ventriloquist. He had this dummy. And this was, you know, 72, and the dummy had a little afro and talking trash. And they had this rule, no swearing in front of the Raelettes. Please. Some of them Raelettes had mouth like a sailor. But, you know, it was all in fun, so to speak. So anyway, we back there, and the Raelettes just walking back and forth between their dressing rooms, getting ready and getting all pretty and stuff. And so the guy have the dummy. He's make the comedian, the ventriloquist, he make the dummy turn his head like this and watch him go by and stuff and talk stuff. I mean, he was talking all this real fresh stuff, you know. Mm. And so one of them complained, and so Ray, you could hear Ray from his dressing room yell out, "Now, Aaron, I told you, you know, no cursing in front of the Raelettes, none of that stuff." And Aaron said, "Well, I didn't do it. Freddie did it." That was the dummy's name, you know. Mm. But the way he did it, and the dummy was making his face, it was everybody had to laugh. You know, it was funny, man. We had a lot of times. And then some of the gigs was hard with the travel and no sleep and all kind of conditions, you know, it'd be raining, you almost be late for the gig and you have to get there and boom, 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 you know. Ray stayed on the road. He was a real hard-working man.
Steve, thank you, man.
Pleasure.
So, blessings.
All right.
Take care.
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, after that.
sharp, F, E7. Yeah. Ba-da-da, D7. And D7. Da-da-da-da-da. And then you got a little break.
I just got to get the feel of how
Yeah,
it
yeah.
goes.
Okay. I'll play it. I got the first bar by myself. So 1, before the second time on the head, we go ba, ba.
Okay.
I'll play it again. You get it. It's really good.
That's the end, isn't it?
Yeah, the end of 4 on the first one. Ba, ba, doo, da. The top. Right there, you hit that break again. Yeah. And then the second time when we play the head, you play the harmony parts of my melody and join me. That's what I'm doing. So I want you to do up here, Ray. Start on the G. Start on the G. Okay.
I'll try to remember all
Yeah,
that.
it's easy. Yeah, it's easy. It's real nice.
Okay.
All right. It's top to the top. I'm with you.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. But now you in with me on the harmony.
Yeah. But I mean, did I do that much right?
Perfect.
Oh, okay.
Want to start from the top again?
Yeah, okay, one more time. I think I got it. Okay. Did I do it right?
Perfect.
Okay.
Now, to end it, we just do that last turnaround.
Where I play the harmony with you?
Well, we do the same thing, the head twice, and you do the harmony the second time, and then when I go, and then I got the first one,
Okay.
and then the second one, and you got it. Bass got it. But drums now. The drums, you did boom first song? On the end of two. Oh, I did the last time with the drums. Bar and 2.5 feet.
Yeah.
One more time. The last time with the drums. Go play it out, Pete.
Yeah, what makes you think I can count, man?
Oh, man. I remember playing with you. You was counting the third trumpet player and you was missing the parts. on the last card, last chord, can you put that raised 11 sound in there?
You got it.
Yeah, I play the A and then you got all the other pretty stuff.
Okay. Okay. Let me see here. And you